Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning into Channel Voices, the podcast for future channel leaders, where we learn the ins and outs of partner ecosystems through casual conversations with channel professionals from a variety of industries, partner types, and geographies. My name is Maciek, and I'm your host. Hey, stop the podcast. You and I know that channel really isn't being taught anywhere, and we all have learned about the channel and ecosystems on the job. But now there's something else out there. SEBS came up with a world-class on-demand video-based education program designed to enable entire organizations, line of business teams, and individual partner professionals to build and grow a partner ecosystem go-to-market model. They provide students with the frameworks, strategies, and tools they need to drive desired outcomes for their organizations and their careers. If you would like to learn more about this program, visit channelvoices.com/partners or click on the link in the description of this episode. And now back to the podcast. Patrick Goedhart, welcome to Channel Voices.
Thank you very much, Magic. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining. We've obviously had quite a few conversations already, but I wanted to get you on because there's one conversation that really hit home, and it's related to maybe one of Channel Voices podcasts episodes. But before we even start, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how your career channel has developed. How have you started? Just a little bit about your channel background, please.
Yeah, sure thing. It's quite an interesting story, by the way, because my IT experience and endeavor started in a company called SPSS back in 2008, statistical software, and that was then acquired by IBM in 2010-ish. And I managed to get several roles within IBM, but at a certain point in time, I became a sales rep. And cocky as all sales reps are, they try to win everything by themselves. No one matters but the quota. But then I found out at a certain point in time that for salesperson, it's nice to sell the licenses, and that's where your job ends because you have to go on to the next one. But actually, for a customer, that's where the journey starts. So who is making sure that the licenses are deployed, who's running the project, implemented, and whatnot? And those were channel partners. And that's why I fell in love with the channel because basically they made every project a success. And then I decided to gain also the partners not at the end of a sales cycle when everything was sold, but just as the beginning. And then it really kicked off, and I rolled into the channel manager function after that. And that's when I really fell in love with the channel by that reason.
Very good. Thank you for that. So we've been chatting kind of on the back end of the episode on partner recruitment, which I've done with Paula Carvalho. And we had a very good conversation off air, but we're going to have it now on air because it's definitely interesting. And we started by kind of discussing, what are the elements that typically come into play after you recruited your partners, right? So when we are onboarding the partners, like from your point of view and from your experience, what would be the key elements of a successful channel partner onboarding strategy?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And I think one of the key elements is to actually have some sort of onboarding program. Reason being is that vendors, channel managers, whatnot, put a lot of effort in recruiting partners into your partner program. And that's very valid, obviously. But I guess there is some industry experts that have found out that 80% of partnerships fail within the first 2 years. And the majority of them are failing because of poor onboarding. And that's a pity because you do a lot of effort, spending money, making costs, and bringing partners into your program, and then they run away after 2 years. So having a proper onboarding program for a vendor is very important. And there are some key elements that should be involved in that. And first, if not the most important, is making your partners really feel welcome into the program. So That can be either an onboarding call, having a kickoff call with the wider audience, involve some of your people along with it, like the sales team, the sales directors, and whatnot. But partners have to make them feel really welcome into your program. Secondly, build a plan with your partner. How does success look like? What are the key elements for the success of that partner? They are signing up to your program with a reason. And if you do not know or are aware of the criteria of their success, you are not able to build some sort of a plan with them to make that success happen. So it is building a plan and setting milestones in achieving, let's say, those success. I think that is very important. Other pieces obviously is some proper sales and enablement steps you need to take with a partner. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, like I said earlier, it is very difficult for partners to be on board into a new program and then you have to expect that they will start selling right away. No, you need to make sure those partners are enabled and onboarded right, that they have the tools they need to address certain solutions at their customers, that they feel confident about the solutions that they are proposing or pitching to their customers. And as a vendor, you have to make sure that they are onboarded as well, onboarded well, enabled well, but also have the material to actually share with the customers on that. And last but not least is assess your partners on how the metrics are running against that plan, that initial plan that you created with them. Assess if they feel rapport into your program, if there is the fit, the interpersonal fit, the two-way street working together fit. Partnerships is all about in a two-way street. So assessing a partner, have regular meetings with them on how they feel the onboarding is going, but also share feedback vice versa. I think those are very crucial elements into the first onboarding phase of a partner.
Perfect. Thank you for that. These are all very important elements of the strategy in terms of onboarding a partner. Have you seen any kind of common challenges when it comes to onboarding partners? Something that maybe comes up more often than not, either within Mimecast right now or maybe even broader spectrum from your previous roles?
Yeah, I think there are a few ways to answer that one. One of the most obvious one is to actually onboard and recruit the right partners into your program. So there are some partners that are signing up to a partner program because, for example, they only have one customer that's asking your solution. Fun fact, they will never be onboarded into an actual onboarding program because they only have that one customer. So they are not interested in adopting a full onboarding program because it doesn't make sense to them. So that can be a challenge for vendors as well because they feel like, oh, we signed up a cool new partner, but then it turns out there was not qualified enough that it would be actually a strategic part of their portfolio. So that's a challenge one. And like I said, challenge two is have the full commitment of the wider team. So you as a channel manager obviously want to have good partners into your program, but if for instance, the salespeople are not committed to a channel strategy or the wider company even, yeah, that can be a challenge as well because you need to have resources and the collaboration with a wider team than just you with that partner. That's why I also joined Mimecast because we are 100% channel driven company and enabling and onboarding your partners that also contains not in a siloed way, but you need the marketing department, you need the sales engineering department, you need the sales department to fully enable and equip the partners on the best behavior that they can have. So I think that is also a big challenge and an area that is somewhat overlooked in many equations because well, I've worked at a vendor that thought, hey, we sign up a new partner, and where does the revenue stay? Yeah, it's more difficult than that, eh?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So keeping all of those in mind, right? Those key elements for successful onboarding, understanding some of those challenges that might present themselves during the onboarding. How do you typically go around measuring that phase of the partnership, right? We measure success on in terms of how we recruit partners. We measure partners' performance on regular basis when they have gone through onboarding. But how do you make sure that the onboarding process is being reevaluated on an ongoing basis as well? And how do you measure if it's successful or not?
Yeah, I think there are two elements to measure a good onboarding process, and one is the somewhat harder numbers, if you would say, and that is actually the deal registers coming in, the pipeline that's being built, maybe certifications that are being achieved, and obviously then all of a sudden the revenue that will flow in, obviously in the quantity of deals that you do. Those are the hard ones, and that's where many vendors look at like those are the criteria to success. But on the other hand, you have a lot of, let's say, softer elements that can break down that barriers, and that is how does the partner feel to collaborate with you? How do they feel their onboarding process is running? Because partnerships are a two-way street. It's also the feedback giving to one another is a two-way street. And I think that as a vendor, you can learn a lot about how you feel that the perfect onboarding scenario looks like, rather than checking in with your partner if that something that you are assuming is actually true. So we learned a lot of things about the onboarding process back in the day when I started at Mimecast, for instance, and how it looks like now. And we took a lot of feedback from partners, and obviously we used the most positive feedback we got, but we reiterated on the somewhat, well, less positive things on how we really can make the things better for them. And those are things, and every partner is also not the same. And so one partner just want to resell, and they don't want to build some like support services around it, or implementation service or customer success service or whatnot, or being a managed service provider. So it really depends also on the, let's say, the form of the partner. But being aware that not every partner is the same, you should really take use of the partner's feedback on how they want to be successful. And you can build throughout the year some elements on repeatable elements that you see on every fit of the partner, but then talking to the partner on how they want to bring revenue, how they want to serve the clients, and how they want to position your solution. You need to pick and take those best elements into the to the onboarding program.
And you mentioned, you know, obviously things like deal registration start flowing, revenue starts showing up from those new partnerships, and that's how you can start measuring some of the success. But you also mentioned certifications. And I wanted to go back to this because how big of a role does training and education actually play in an onboarding of a channel partner? What's your experience in that area in terms of that education, getting partners to sign up to courses and do certification? Is that a very big element of onboarding a partner, or how do you see it?
Well, I think it's a very important element of partner onboarding, but it's not the holy grail per se. Because what I see typically is that vendors build, let's say, a certification program or whatnot, and partners have to run through a few videos, do an exam and whatnot, and then they pass certification. But that's all theory, right? And typically the certifications are somewhat marketing driven from the sales side, but not really go into the use cases or sharing best practices or how to deal with objection handlings or whatnot. What's looking under the hood of the technique if you look at it from a technical perspective. So I think it's not only the theory that needs to be in an onboarding plan or an enablement certification plan, but use that theory to also enable partners in a practical way. And practical way is helping them in the first sales cycles, have the sales team gather along, shadow maybe the first meetings or join the actual meetings, depending on what the partner would like, and actually show them do it together so they can do it on their own. And for some partners, that process in being fully equipped takes 2 months, 2 weeks, but for some others, it takes more time. And I think that's very important because, like I said, not every partner is the same. But having that rapport also in your team that not every partner is the same, use that practical guidance and work really together with those partners in making them successful. And I think that's an area that is somewhat overlooked, but is highly crucial. So not only theory, training, enablement, but also practice. Putting theory into practice is very important.
The one thing that I always was thinking about when it came to onboarding new partners was exactly what you said, right? Winning that first deal together, closing that first deal successfully with the partner, and maybe even, lose a couple along the way, but do it together,
Correct.
right? Because what that establishes is that trust that needs to be there for a partnership to work. Every partnership is based on trust, right? So I think that's a very important component to your point of onboarding partner and taking that journey together, because it not only helps them to understand what the process looks like, how do they interact with the vendor when they do have questions from the prospect, but also that I wouldn't call it hand holding, but it's that celebrating success together and living through the first failures together as well. And that builds that trust.
Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, like you said, you win together, you lose together, and there are some very cool things you can do when you actually have joint success. So at Mimecast, we went out celebrating at lunch. We were celebrating giving some nice drinks all together. We went out bowling. We went out karting. You know what? You want to celebrate because winning together makes it more appetite of winning more together. And you should not sit back and think, well, deal one is done, when follows the rest. No, you really have to proactively celebrate with your partners, especially the ones that are new, to really also, from a vendor side of the house, show them a token of appreciation on the investment they are making into your company. And I think that's highly important.
And that kind of goes into the question that I had prepared for you, but I think we've gone through some of that. But maybe you have some other tips in that respect. Like in terms of the steps that you take to build a strong and long lasting relationship with partners. Obviously celebrating that success, being very personal, and it could be things like taking partners out for a drink or to dinner or celebrate in some other ways. That's one part. Is there anything else, that any other techniques that you would be using to build that long lasting good relationship with partners?
Yeah, there are two main things that are important there, to my opinion. One is don't set it and forget it. If you say that you are doing something, make sure that you do the things that you promise you do. Because if in an onboarding phase you say you are going to do things for a partner or do together or whatnot, and you fail to make the promise, then you lose the trust already because you promise that you are making them successful in whatever context that may be. I think that's very important to have another set it and forget it mentality. And two is show them that you are willing to win or lose together. Going the extra mile is so much important. Showing that it's not you're not only teaming for your success, but actually show them that you are contributing, willing to celebrate their success. Many channel people know that a partner success is eventually the success of the wider team. But those are some elements that are that are crucial in order to get the ball up and running at partners.
The next natural step would be to also, I suppose, let the partner go and do things on their own, right? So there needs to be some kind of really good balance in terms of, how you provide that training and resources, and maybe go and win those couple of first deals together, lose a couple of them together as well. So how do you balance between that and then allow partner to go and operate completely independently?
That's an interesting question because, in my opinion, that is really also up to the partner to decide. Like if you as a vendor decide that you need to be in every meeting because you feel like they are not capable of running it on their own, that's not really giving away a lot of confidence into the partner. I would say discuss that with your partner. When do they feel like they are ready on taking a conversation on their own? And you have some partners that, well, not want to drive for you as a vendor to drive the meetings, but just be there in the not in the driver's seat, but in the seat next to it. Just when they need you in the meeting, you can complement the questions a customer might have or whatnot. And then you will have a natural transition into, let's say, a partner that feels like, hey, you were there in the meeting, but you didn't need to answer any questions, but at least you were there. I now feel like I can do it on my own. There are also some customers that never want to see a vendor. You have those as
Correct.
well. But then again, you have also some customers that explicitly ask for the vendor to be joining the meeting. So it all depends on what the customer would like. It depends on the maturity of the partner, how they take the onboarding seriously, because you also have from a partner side people that say, "Hey, I'm committed to this onboarding journey," but actually their wider team is not, as maybe the stakeholders are. So it really depends on where the partnership is headed, how confident people are, and then take a decision based on that. And that's for every situation and every partner different. And that's why the channel is such a good place to be in, because not a day is the same, eh?
That's that's for sure. There's never a dull moment, and there is no 2 days that are the same in the world of channel.
No, and it's difficult also to measure that, because I think being in channel, it's also sometimes a gut feeling that you have on certain partners or not, or certain situations or steps in the process of the journey they are in, that you can feel if they're ready for it or not. And then it's not always able to put that on paper or make that measurable or whatnot. Sometimes it is just having the empathy and confidence that you need to have as a channel.
Yeah, it's definitely a mixture of the science and the art,
Yes,
in that regard.
100%.
And then we're obviously surrounded by technology, and technology is here to make our lives easier, is to automate certain things. What role do you think, or from your experience, what role does technology play in the onboarding process of a partner today?
It's becoming more and more important, especially when you as a vendor reach the phase of scale. So having, let's say, recruiting 10 partners and onboarding them all at the same time, yeah, you don't have the resources, the skills maybe as a smaller vendor to have that, because yeah, you only have so much channel account managers and an internal team to work on that. As you are growing bigger, a lot of repetitive tasks can be automated and should be automated, because it doesn't make sense for people to spend their time on anymore. And there are a lot of, let's say, PRM systems out there that can automate a lot of stuff, like building checklists on where the steps are in the onboarding process, with tasks have already been done, doing the deal regs, doing the certification. That all can be automated, especially when you grow, because you cannot do sales enablement for 20 to hundreds new partners. Those steps, especially the theory, can be automated. Not sure where that is heading in the Mimecast world. We do are working on a few systems, but we have not, let's say, thousands of partners that we are onboarding every day. We're trying to build a special forces unit rather than a land army. And then you always try to keep things closer to the ball, if you would like, and not automate everything. But like I said, there are some repetitive tasks in the onboarding steps that can be automated and should.
Obviously, you do have quite a bit of experience when it comes to recruiting and onboarding partners, and you're living that life now as well. If you were to give 3 tips for a team or organization looking to improve how they onboard partners, what would those top 3 things be? Where would you tell them to invest their time and efforts to improve that onboarding process?
Tip one is ask your partner how they define success. Because if you are going to build an onboarding program for them, which is not making them successful, it doesn't make sense to build an onboarding program. So it should all be about having or driving the success for a partner. The second one is don't make it too complex. Build and design a simple but comprehensive onboarding plan that have repeatable elements, and don't overcomplicate things. As a partner, you want to work with partners that are easy to deal with. So don't overcomplicate things, and build and design something repeatable as much as you can. And last but not least is assess. assess the partner, discuss, especially in the onboarding phase, have multiple QBRs with different stakeholders, how they feel things are going. Take that feedback, put it in your program, recess again, and over time you will, with every new partner that you bring on board, you make things better, both for them, but also for yourself as a vendor.
Thank you very much for those tips as well, Patrick. So we've talked quite a bit about, what can go wrong and how we can mitigate some of those risks when it comes to onboarding partners and what to concentrate on and understand what success looks like. Now, taking a step back and thinking about when you started your career in the channel, if you could pinpoint one thing that you wish you knew before you started your career, what would that be?
That's an interesting question. I would say partners do not want to work for a vendor, but with a vendor. And if you do that right, the channel will actually start working for you. And when I just joined channel, you're getting brainwashed by marketing and sales and all the pitches you see and the enablement you get. You actually obviously believe in that story. But then if you go out and talk to partners, they go like, so what? So you believe it's the Holy Grail, but it's not the case that if you knock on every partner's door, they open up like, finally you're here. Yes, let's team up. And what I would love to learn when I redid my channel career, if you would like, is really to build that business case with a partner on behalf. So I think there are many channel podcasts and blogs and whatnot about the lack of study or around the channel job role itself. And I think this is one really crucial one. Work with your partners and actually build the business case for them, how they can build incremental revenue with the solution that you as a vendor are selling. And don't expect that you knock on a door of a partner, they will open up and with arms open wide. That's not the case. I wish I would have learned that on day one, because that would save me a lot of time and painful conversations.
That's a very good way to put it. I remember my first days in the channel as well and expecting partners to bring business to me from day one.
Because you're never too old to learn. So that's also the cool stuff in the channel. Not a day goes by when you learn new things.
That's exactly it. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Channel Voices. Thank you for sharing your experience and expertise on the topic of onboarding channel partners. Wishing you all the best, all continued success for the channel team in Mimecast, and let's stay in touch.
Stay in touch and good luck with your channel podcast. Love to listen to them, Magic.
Thank you so much. And that's a wrap for this episode. I do hope you found it valuable, and if you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow Channel Voices Podcast on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, or just visit channelvoices.com where you can send me a message or leave a voicemail. All of the links are listed in the show notes, and once again, I appreciate you tuning in today. Until next time.